Coming in hot on your Tuesday. My clock was all off. I was very confused a minute ago when Dave was like, hey, are we ready to go live? What's the link? And I'm like, yeah, Dave getting in there a half hour early. Has this ever happened?
Yeah.
My computer time was like 20 minutes slow. Like it was telling me it was like 8:05. And I was like, oh, Dave getting in there early. I don't know. But good morning to you, PT Breakfast Club. That is Dave Kittle. That is Tony Maritato. I'm Jimmy McKay. I'm in the middle today. I like that.
Yeah.
Tony, you wanted to talk about pricing. I saw you like asking questions. And if anybody like, here's a great plug to get people to follow us on social media. That's the anti-plug plug. If you want to know what we're going to be talking about 2 or 3 days from now, watch the questions we're asking on social media 2 or 3 days before an episode. Because we're typically looking to see your reaction. And if there is no reaction, that's off the list. If you don't care enough to agree or disagree with us, if you've noticed anything about anything, you're looking for threads to pull. So with that being said, we'll share our socials, in the stream later on in comments and stuff like that. But if you're looking for things to chime in on, or if you'd like to influence things, like I had a guy in my LinkedIn comments this morning, which shows people actually listen to this show. So John chimed in on a post about, did you see my post about, it was from Reddit. And it was like somebody moved across the country to start a travel PRN, a travel assignment. And like the morning before they were supposed to start, they were like, yeah, this assignment's not there. Like, and the question was like, what would you do? So it was a bunch of people. And John chimed in and he goes, well, Jimmy, per your podcast from a couple weeks ago, you got to be flexible like the shoulder with a little stability like the hip. And I was like, holy cow, people actually listen to this show. Who knew? Who knew people listen to this show?
Who was that? John who? Just so we can shout him out.
I will have to. That was. Sorry, not John. It was Luke Ivers. Luke Ivers.
Shout out Luke. Never even heard of him, but I'm glad he tunes in. Love it.
Now I just sent him a connection request on LinkedIn. But it's funny how these things spread and how the things that we think about, the things that we think are going to be the most talked about, the things we think are going to be the most important, sometimes are, sometimes aren't. And the things that we think are minute become the big things. So what do you want to talk about first? Tony, you want to go pricing or do you want to go by we can save my real world question I have for you guys of what to do in a marketing situation. We can do that second if you want.
Well, plus Dave got information about Bark that I want to hear. But yeah, let's just hit pricing real quick. It's just, this is a horse that's been beaten 100 times, but this is 101. I get curious, and obviously all the political news that's going everywhere right now. So they're talking about price is not price fixing. So price fixing, just for people listening, therapists are technically supposedly not allowed to talk about reimbursement rates because they could fix prices behind the scenes, saying, I talked to Dave, I talked to Jimmy, we are not going to accept any prices lower than $100 a unit. So when an insurance company tries to negotiate rates, we have, quote, fixed prices. That is against the law. You can't do that. But then government, what?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You're not allowed to talk about it. And usually in your payer contracts, there will be a disclosure in there talking about this. That's why nobody talks about it. But the government had passed a law for price transparency where hospitals and large organizations and insurance companies are supposed to share reimbursement rates. It hasn't taken effect. The law is there, but nobody's going with it yet. Price controls is a different topic. And that's kind of what I wanted to hit on just real quick. Price controls would be the government comes in and says, no gas station is allowed to raise gas prices beyond $3 a gallon. The problem with price control, obviously on the surface, it seems amazing. It's like, oh yes, price of food is too expensive. The population needs food. The government is going to come in and fix the price of food. Well, the problem is it leads to shortages. It doesn't adequately compensate growers, farmers, food manufacturers, and it leads to a whole bunch of other problems. So there's two sides to every story. My side is clearly biased, but then you go down a third rabbit hole and you look at the research. And you look at the research on pricing, and there are studies published where it says a medication that's more expensive tends to be more effective. Yeah. A wine that's more expensive tends to taste better. And I still say, if therapists want to be research informed, back in my day, it was research based, we would use all the research, not just the research that resonates with your particular biases.
Right.
So all the research would be, hey, how do I make this more effective? How do I make patients more compliant? How do I improve the quality in my patient care experience? I make it more expensive. And so whether we're talking about Medicare, and I just published an article on LinkedIn where Medicare is effectively controlling prices. They're trying to keep prices low. They're such a major third-party payer. It has a negative effect because Medicare pricing is so low. Amazing therapists like Dave can't afford to deliver an amazing patient care experience on a Medicare reimbursement rate. So Dave leaves. Dave doesn't do it. But I really think if we want to improve the outcomes, one of the easiest lever to pull is make it more expensive. And then, of course, the argument, well, what about people who can't afford it? If I can put $1 million in my bank account treating fewer patients, I have a lot more free time to deliver services that I will pay for myself to people who can't afford it. It's not free. There's no such thing as a free service.
Correct.
It's a service that I am paying for to deliver to a person who can't afford to pay for it themselves. All right, guys, where do you want to go from there?
Well, real quick, Scott, checking in live here. Great article, Tony. He just commented.
Right.
So, Scott, Tony would love if you were able to just share that link with, let's say, 2 or 3 colleagues. Send it to them on LinkedIn DM or email. Share that link out. It's an interesting article, and it's pretty short and quick and right to the point. So just share out Tony's stuff. We would appreciate that.
So I'll go first because I'm probably the most ill-informed. So I never worked on pricing. Like, as the communications guy in radio, I was always the guy creating the product, right? I worked hand in hand with sales, and we worked together. And I could talk about a pricing model that I've worked with or used or first heard of. I go with price and value, right? Like, so you have that seesaw. I could bring up a slide, but I won't. You have a seesaw. On one side is price. And that's the side most people focus on. It's easy to control because, look, I just went on my website. I changed my price. My price is now doubled. I did a Labor Day sale. My price has changed. But what Tony's talking about is perceived value. We tend to just take the word perceived off of that because all value is perceived value. You can't tell me this is more valuable to someone else. Just take a bottle of water in a supermarket or at a Yankees game. There's still 2 bottles of water, but one has more price because it has more perceived value. It's harder to get water at Yankee Stadium because they control the market. And that's the different ways that Tony is talking about, is who's able to collude, who's able to control. If we talked about, wasn't that the thing that where employers tried to convince employees that it was illegal to talk about what their salary was because it would make everybody hate each other? And that's the way to make sure no one understands what anybody else is getting paid, so they can't understand where they fit in the bell curve. So I would say, well, there's a couple of different questions that you're asking here, Tony. Number one, is making something more expensive, does it make it more valuable? It depends, but the research shows that people look at things more valuable. Did you hear about the shoe company Palessi? You ever heard of that one?
No.
You have. It's called Payless. They did a pop-up store and they made all the lights bougie, and they brought in, beautiful men.
Fake Instagram influencers. They invited them. They all showed up and
they were like, how much?
I'm trying to be nice. I'm going to just.
And here's where I'm going with my clothes. And this is like a side topic because I'll let Dave go, which is they asked these people, what would you pay for these shoes? What would you pay for? Oh, I would pay $300, $400, $500, $800. And they were the Payless shoes that 24 hours before were on the rack in Payless. But because we changed it, it's Palessi, now it's something different. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, but Jimmy, healthcare is different. But Tony already circled around on that. If there are people that can't afford it, you actually, if you charge a higher rate, you buy yourself some time to help people who can't afford it. Now you can go crazy and go ham on pro bono work, but someone's got to pay for it.
The Palessi thing, I do remember where they created like a fake store like in a mall, and it was like it was like gold font, different. Obviously, it was a different logo than Payless. They invited these fake Instagram influencers, and they all got punked basically. Like they all were like, "Oh my god, these shoes are $30, and I was ready to, and people actually, I think they actually took transactions. Is that true? That like people actually paid a couple $100 per pair?
I think so. It might have just been a stunt, but there was one about, I think it was either San Francisco or New York, where this kid was selling like ramen noodles, and he made up a fake 5-star restaurant that was only taking reservations 8 weeks in advance, and kid was making bank selling 89-cent packets of ramen. Perception is reality.
100%. Now, I hope I'm open and transparent enough to basically admit this is what we do. This is what we do at Concierge Pain Relief. My therapist and I, let's say we have a client who's 85 that has Parkinson's, and the way we evaluate and treat them is pretty much no different than any other Luna therapist. We try to make it better. Any outpatient Medicare Part B therapist in any other state or city or rural area. But we kind of do what Payless did with Palesi, like in terms of the wrapping of like the messaging on our website. We spend more on ads. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's not. We definitely had the phone call process like we talked about in previous episodes. So that's kind of part of like the branding, the experience, all that before. But I'm saying the actual intervention of like, are we going to do, rotations and single leg stance and, tandem walking and LSVT big type movements for our 85-year-old with Parkinson's, the same way that therapists would do in, rural Arkansas or West Virginia or anywhere else. The actual interventions might be very similar, but in terms of the wrapping, the branding, the front end experience, a little bit of the communication stuff. So it is kind of similar. And I'm owning it. I'm owning up to it. Like we package it up, and on our website, it says the Parkinson's Breakthrough Program. So people call in and they're like, hey, can we get some more information on this program? And, how much is this program? And, it sounds like Medicare or, insurance might not cover it. Yes. Christy, thank you for your live comment. She said, make it feel luxurious. So that's kind of what we do. And it is the effect of.
This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is Bain and Company's B2C value pyramid. So, Chris, who's making that comment right there? Christine is saying emotional, make it feel badge value. I actually have Dr. Dave, and you have someone down the street, or it's affiliation and belonging, or it's those things. It's, can you provide those things? And if you can charge more.
And really real quick before I kick it over to Tony, like we talked about this before, we did a deep dive on some other episode where we talked about like packaging and the wrapping paper. And we just we put these words for these programs, like on my website, we have, on the stroke CVA page, it's the Stroke Success Program or something like that. I don't even remember the actual names, but like people call in and they're like, they want this thing. Because if they call somewhere else, it's just like, do you take, my Medicare for your in-home physical therapy and I happen to have a stroke or Parkinson's or whatever. But when they come and like Christy said, make it exclusive, like, oh, this is for me, but it's not for other people. And some people, this is the beautiful thing, Tony, about pricing, right? Like some people are like, I want the thing. I want to pay for the thing. I've worked so hard in my life where now I can invest in the thing or the program or whatever, compared to everything else. And everything else looks the same. And our programs, I believe, kind of stand out in a different way. And then that's what results in some of the interest. But I don't know, Tony, maybe also with the pricing and people, using that to filter themselves in or out, or what else around pricing with this whole topic?
I think it just goes back to, Gary Vee said it, and we've shared it on this broadcast, like just put it out there. What's interesting is I can go buy a $2,000 hamburger that's got gold leaf and an ostrich egg on it, and like all this crazy stuff. Or I can go to McDonald's for a $3 hamburger, right? What's interesting though is I make that comparison for therapists who call higher volume clinics mill clinics compared to a niche practice. The reality is there's a market there for both. Mm-hmm. On an absolute basis, McDonald's is making far more profit than that fine dining experience that's selling a $2,000 hamburger. But even if you just have it on the menu for price anchoring purposes to say, look, this is possible, you're at least giving the community the option. Most of us, me included, don't even want to give them the option. Now that being said, I understand Jimmy's quote. I understand the assignment. I understand my niche. I understand my market. I am not serving the same community as Dave would be. So from a physical therapy perspective, I am not trying to brand and market a premium experience. Most of the equipment in my clinic is broken, but functional. My seats were rescued from the trash. I didn't spend hardly any money opening my physical therapy clinic. And along those lines, I am the Family Dollar, Dollar General, lowest possible budget operator, but I still get my patients better. My patients still come back for other conditions. Like, I've got proven success behind that track record. But with that, I'm okay taking minimum wage for the services that I'm delivering in my business model. So, therapists always some therapists always want to say, like, it's not about just serving the rich and all of these things. You're right, 100%. But any of us could serve those who can't afford. We just need to build a vehicle that allows us to do that. And for the record, I'm the only clinic in my geography that offers pro bono services, that doesn't send patients to collections if they don't pay, that has never turned a single person away because their insurance has exhausted and they don't have any more visits. Like, the hospital doesn't do that. The NovaCare, Athletico, ATI, nobody else in my community does that. I am the only practice who does that. And the only reason why I can do it is because I have other high margin, high profit services that I can provide.
And you're happy with the current profit margin of your practice? Like, if you can offer all that stuff
for where that business is within the scope of everything, I am. Even when I'm like right now, for those who don't know, everything is changing. The economy is changing. We're under a little bit of a crunch for the big picture profitability. But even with that, when I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, I guess I could go high, margin in the PT clinic, but I just don't want to do that. I don't want to build that business right now. There are other places I could go for the money that would still allow me to run the business at the profit margins it's running at. Yeah, I'm satisfied.
All right, let me ask a question. Because if someone was listening and wanted to start a business, they wanted to start a clinic, and we haven't used any real numbers here. We haven't used $1 amount. We're just using theory, right? So how do you turn theory into an actual number? And we didn't plan on talking about this, but I learned about this a number of years ago, and it fascinated me because I always wondered, how did someone pick $120 for a pair of Nikes, right? Where did that come from? Have either of you guys ever heard of the Van Westendorp pricing model?
I've heard of it, but no. I don't know it.
All right. It's just 4 questions that you would ask potential consumers, and the questions will help create a box around too expensive, on the expensive end, way too cheap, way too inexpensive, I think it's cheap, or on the bottom end of a bargain. And then you realize that your price should actually be between the 2 inner lines. It's just 4 questions, because we know if I say, hey, Dave, I'm selling this thing that you'd like in your community, how much do you think I should charge? You're going to be like, I'm going to give you a low number because I'm not going to charge for it. Or if I'm your buddy, I'm going to like $10,000, but then no one's going to buy it, right? So asking these people questions, these 4 questions, the Van Westendorp pricing model, is what I like to call ricochet questions. They're not a direct question. I'm going to bounce this question off the wall and get you thinking of putting this thing in context. And it makes you think less about the number while still giving me a number. So here are the 4 questions. I'll flash them on the screen, and then you can see we'll go over the purposes of all 4. The question is, at what price would you consider this product to be too expensive to consider? That is the ceiling. That is too expensive. Don't go near that, right? That is, I'm never thinking about this. At what price would you consider this product to be too cheap, where you start to question its quality? So that's above the roof and below the foundation, right? Those are your outer edges, the edges of the bell curve, if you want to look at it left and right. And then the inner questions, at what price would you consider the product to be getting expensive, but still worth buying? There's your sort of upper margin. and then you're lower, at what price would you consider this product to be a bargain, a great buy for the money? So it really, those 4 questions start to give you some ideas. And of course, as we know with large numbers, when you ask those 4 questions, because that's scalable, you can ask 4 questions to people. When you start to ask those questions at scale, you can start and plot those results and see what your product is actually, what people might consider. Because again, people will tell you what they're going to pay for something, and then you go on sale and you might not sell anything. That's a risk in business. But when you can plot that, now I would say a very clear, concise explanation of your product or service would need to precede those 4 Van Westendorp pricing questions. You have to understand what they're buying, because pay lessy, right?
And so that's the crux of it, which is if someone's never had physical therapy before, they don't understand what's great, what's, is it okay that a home therapist comes from VNS and comes into my parents' home for 12 minutes, says, yeah, walk with a cane, you're fine. And then they leave. And that is their perception of physical therapy. Or, and not to, not like Luna. We've had patients, no offense, Luna's great, they're huge, but we've had some patients call us and say, hey, we're calling around, we want home physical therapy. Oh, did you try anything else? How have you tried physical therapy in the past? Yeah, we had, I had a Luna therapist come and they didn't put their hands on me. And let's say they have some condition where they expected manual therapy, or maybe clinically need it, or they just prefer it or whatever, like a stiff knee, or I don't know, whatever, something you might not be able to out exercise. And I know, Tony can have some pushback against this, but someone calls us, but Luna, they didn't do any hands-on manual therapy. And Luna, I think, charges $120 out of pocket for cash. And if we're charging $250, $300 out of pocket cash, they may or may not understand that. So again, that goes back to the phone call. So, what are your thoughts on that, Tony? What are your thoughts on the service? It's easier to sell the pen, this camera, this laptop, a physical thing with those 4 questions versus a service-based business where there's so much variability and might require the consumer to actually understand the service before just just picking a price.
Jimmy, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say is, you brought up sell the pen. And I would say the pen is physical therapy. It's the how. Don't sell the pen. How much would you pay to not have to leave your home, but still go back to running from after your ACL surgery?
But the solutions for a pen are it either has ink or it doesn't. It writes or it doesn't. And with a service-based business, the difference between my therapist that we send versus another could be very different, but they both think that that's the pen.
So write me one sentence that clearly defines your business, which is how much is too expensive to have a physical therapist come to your house, or you could probably even write this without using physical
that does this, does this, does this, does this.
But
I need a good pen to write that.
Stop saying that does this, that does this. That's how
that can help you with.
How much would you pay that you'd never have to leave your house, but would get back to running in 12 weeks versus describe what they're going to get out of it versus how you're going to get them there. This was very clear to me when I was forced to advertise beer and cars. Those are the big advertisers in radio, is beer and cars, especially I was in rock radio. So it's trucks and brews, man. And they kept talking about cold beer. And I remember that was one of the things that fascinated me. I was like, I'm responsible for making it cold when it gets to my house. Why do you keep calling? Well, it's ice cold Budweiser, because they're selling the story. When I say ice cold Budweiser, if you've ever had a cold beer, you're already tasting it. The cold beer is responsible on the gas station for keeping their coolers at a certain temperature, or me for keeping my fridge running. They're selling cold beer. And if you notice, this is in the United States anyway, you can't have someone drink a beer in an advertisement. Did you know that? You've never seen someone on television drink a beer in a Budweiser commercial. Then hold on a second. They're handcuffed with that and still sell beer because they sell the story. They sell the outcome. The outcome is, I don't know, man. If I buy a 12-pack of that, apparently I start playing beach volleyball with friends, and a beach volleyball match breaks out. Look at all these girls. They sell the outcome. So let's say, Christine says she recently started a concierge mobile therapy practice. It's just me, so I can only take a certain number of clients anyway. You're available. You're exclusive. So I can only market to people willing to pay a little bit higher. Got it. I don't need everybody to be comfortable pricing because I can't see everyone. Christy,
amen.
Understands the assignment. She only think about this as in dating. You're only supposed to date one person, right? There's a lot of people that date more than one person. You're only supposed to date one person at a time. So that is very exclusive. So she's understanding, like, to be able to exist, she has to charge more. And then 5 years from now, for me, a win with Christy would be, I'm charging so much that I've got actually like 8 to 12 slots a week that I can give away for nothing, or, give away pro bono.
So I did the same thing. Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
To Dave's point, if you have a consumer, which we get them, who has no idea what therapy is, what to expect, what's going on, that's a very different situation than if you have a consumer that's been to another therapy provider, they've experienced something, they like it or they don't, and now they're looking for something else. It's just like talking about the pen once again. I always think about when you see a president signing a new law, they use a different pen for like every letter of the signature. And I'm assuming because each one of those pens is going to go as a bribe to one of the Congress people or senators behind them. That pen, it's not about how well it writes, how heavy it feels, how smooth it is. It's about this was held by the president during, this law signature. We have to understand the context. Now, to Christy's point, if she's in the position she just described, I don't know that she would necessarily have the data yet to know what is the right price, and so this is where you need to experiment, but you also need to have enough kind of data at bats to figure it out. For me, I'm going to get referrals to my clinic no matter what. Like, we get so many referrals. I can turn referrals away. I have no problem. I can experiment with pricing. And back in the day, I even remember when we were talking about copays and patients didn't want to or couldn't afford a copay. I was like, well, what is the price point? What is the bottom that still makes them feel invested? But if I charged any less, it wouldn't make them buy more. Right. And back at that time, it was around $15. What I had found was, when we're talking about a person who's struggling to afford therapy, could I build a solution that gave them the outcome that they wanted, that they needed? What was the lowest price point? $20. Enough people would say no at the $20 price point to my prescribed plan of care. $15. Almost everybody who walked in the door could say yes to $15. Going to $10 got me no additional patients. So I was like, well, it doesn't help me to go to 10. I'm going to find 15. 15 was the sweet spot for that demographic. Now, at the high end, I always say, like, somebody's charging 100. Okay, is the person who's willing to pay 100 not willing to pay 150? How many are you really going to lose if you go from 100 to 150? If you lose 10%, it's not enough. You need to go to 150 because you'll make more with the extra $50. And then the same question, all right, is the person willing to pay 150 not willing to pay 200? I got to test it. And we go to 200, and you just keep climbing that ladder to the point where the incremental increase in price outweighs the decrease in acceptance. And now you have your upper threshold, you have your lower threshold, and now you begin to experiment.
Yep. And back in 2016, I had, like a friend of a friend with, asking for out-of-pocket in-home therapy. And I had no idea. Again, 2016, this was several years ago, no idea how to price it. And I was like $100, right? So started to do that. He referred me to his friend. I go there. That friend is, well off, whatever. And he was just like, he's like, hey, can I just write you a check for like $1,000 for like the next 10 sessions? And I was like, sure. Right. So like that, he literally helped me sell my first package, quote unquote package. But then fast forward to earlier this year, 2024, with the newborn that we have here, like, I didn't want to go out and see any patients unless I was like, what's a number where it would still make sense for me, but it'll filter out a bunch of tire kickers. So that's why I started with $350 a visit. And I was surprised, a good amount of people. And then I was like, then we kept going, for either me, or I would say for me, it's $350 or $400, or if it's for my staff therapist, Christy, I would say, you know, it's $250 a visit for so-and-so, right? So it's kind of like almost like a law firm, like the law firm, senior partner charges more, junior partner or associate charges a lower billable rate. Which I'm sure there's some Medicare folks that are going to get mad at me with compliance and whatever, and I have to have like a universal fee schedule or whatever. But Christy, once you do hire your therapist in the future for this practice you're talking about, where you're eventually transitioning to a clinic, as she said here in the live comment, you could potentially continue to pitch whatever your rate is for your therapist as well, or you could have it lower to catch more of what Tony's talking about, a little bit more of the volume, get them busy, and you pay them and you figure out the math between like what the labor costs and like some margin for them and the risk and the liability and all that. So you have some choices there. And like at least from what I've seen, like the higher we go in price, like the more, I don't know, it's almost become easier. I hate to, like, I'm probably making it sound very simplified, but I'm in New York City, but like
it's simple, it's easier.
Easy.
It's simple, not easy, right? And it's probably not easy. Definitely like anything, the first time you do these things, it's not easy. I mean, I've had people talk to me about, like, I do consulting on podcasts and stuff like that or APTA organizations and whatnot. And people have said, like, well, why don't you just take the job that's going to charge, you know, $100 to do a project? And I'm like, cause I don't want to, I'm saying no to things I like to do, like Dave playing with his baby. He's like, I'm not going to get off the couch for less than this. So you decide what your time, you are deciding what your effort and your time is ultimately worth.
Right.
Dave, you were talking about Bark and Thumbtack last week. We didn't get a chance to dive into it. Let's talk about it now.
Absolutely. All right. So this is how, especially a mobile concierge therapist, can get their next 10 patients. I have a couple ideas, a couple things I wanted to kind of show you guys, pitch you guys. You guys can tear it apart. You can, interject. Let me know what you think. But years ago, probably, I don't know, 2019, 2020, I was using thumbtack.com and bark.com, and I was the professional. So I created like a profile. You guys can go check out thumbtack.com or bark.com, whatever. So there's, you can find a handyman, a music instructor, HVAC person, roofer, massage therapist,
it's your local cork board on the wall of your apartment complex lobby.
Exactly. And that's where Thumbtack got the name. So, so Thumbtack and Bark, very, very similar. I had actually gotten some, new patients, I think around 2019, 2020, new leads, through Thumbtack, a little less through Bark. But anyway, I wanted to just show you, a couple of the anonymous emails that Bark sends me. I don't have my credit card in the system anymore, but like they still send me the emails because they probably want to reactivate me. So I'll share my screen in a second. If you are listening, guys, on iTunes or wherever else, you can jump over to PT Pinecast, Learn Medicare Billing, or Dave Kittle Show on YouTube. Any of those might show this screen share. I'm going to show you the anonymous emails that Bark has been sending me, which are prospective patients or clients in your area. In this case, it's going to be in the New York City area. Typically, they're requesting and seeking massage therapy, and there's a chat box or a chat window at the bottom where the prospective person that's seeking help, that is choosing massage therapy, a little blurb, like one sentence or two sentences, and that is what I want to show you guys. That's what I want to show any PT or OT listening, because they're typically seeking massage therapy. And I believe this is a way for you to connect with them. You can call them, message them. You get access once you pay for credits or whatever. You can speak to these prospective patients or clients in your community. Those people might get 2 or 3 options from Bark or Thumbtack or whatever.
Right.
But you're starting a conversation. Yes, you have to pay to play to do that. It's just the platform. It's no different than paying for Google ads.
So bring it up, because I'm a visual guy. So, okay, because I haven't used either of these. I'm like, hey, community, because you know my zip code. I'm looking, my shoulder hurts. Who do you guys like for, massage locally that you trust or whatever? And then you, as a paying user, get the ability to DM one-on-one to these people if like it looks like that's alignment.
Correct. So like basically, the professional will one of the professionals will respond to the prospective customer, right? And the customer basically gets, gets to see, they can talk to 4 or 5 professionals in the local area and, get pricing and bids and all that type of stuff.
Professional pays, not the customer.
Correct. It's totally free on the customer side, and it's, pay to play. You buy credits, and then it's like, 3, 4, 5 credits to reveal, let's say this one here. So here's
I'm just making sure, Dave, before I go show something, this looks like your email. You want to show that, right?
Yeah. So there's nothing I can't show publicly right now. It's totally fine.
Okay.
All right. So this is from bark.com. Christopher is looking for a massage therapist, Brooklyn, New York. Takes 3 credits to respond. So that's where you, the therapist, would be paying for that. I'm going to zoom in here. Typically it'll say, this one doesn't show it, but usually it'll say like the zip code, right? And right here you see 0 out of 5 professionals have responded. So typically like that would be like, if 3, 4, 5 professionals have responded, maybe you just scroll on and you swipe, you don't respond to it. Obviously you'd want to respond right away. And then there's something here like verified number, additional details. So, it's like not a bot, it's like a real person. Here's like a little teaser, like here's, 347, the beginning of their area code of their phone number. Here's their redacted email address and redacted phone number. And here is like a little message, right? And so this one just says herniated discs. Now, my question, a sidebar question for you guys is, if someone has a herniated disc, what are your thoughts that they are seeking this? They're seeking massage therapy. What do you guys think?
Probably pretty
good. There's no right or wrong here.
Probably pretty good. They don't know what they're looking for.
Yeah, I know plenty of people that'll look for massage therapy for a herniated disc.
They don't know. Here's what they're looking for. This goes back to the pen. They're looking for those discs to be unherniated, whatever that means, because they have no idea what that means.
Well, they're looking for the pain to stop.
Correct. They're looking for the unherniated disc.
So here's a little bit more project details. We'll find you a massage therapist. What type of massage are you looking for here? You can kind of like fill out like what areas, how many minutes. This is what the prospective customer filled out. They clicked 90 minutes.
Smarter. Okay.
They prefer a male or female. And then this is always interesting. How frequently will you need a massage? And most of the time, I got to say, from looking at this for years, most people are clicking. It's probably a drop-down choice. I don't know. They're not writing this in, but they're clicking like a drop-down. It's usually just this one time, which is also a sidebar comment on why there's so many drop-offs in physical therapy, like after the 3rd visit, because most consumers just want to do the thing one time. Massage therapy, physical therapy, whatever. And so
charge more for the eval. Okay.
There
great.
you go.
I'm going to teach you everything. By the way, it costs 3 credits to call Tony. Or do a Zoom call with Tony, or to be on Tony's RTM plan.
There you go. So in my Gmail email search right here, I have bark.com space disc. So all these right here, I believe are potential patients or clients. So here's Catherine. These are all redacted, by the way. I'm not sharing anything that's like can't be public. Brooklyn, New York, 11205 area code, the redacted phone number and email. And then the message, I have degenerative disc and looking for relief in neck, C5, and shoulder, as well as mid-back, L4, L5, which is low back, whatever. And then deep tissue relief. So, and then it says 1 out of 5 professionals have responded. And then, of course, there's a little bit more down here. And look at this. They're always just looking for this one time.
I know.
And it's fascinating.
I know, but I read that as I am sniffing to find someone I like. And if and when I do, I go deep. Like if someone
100%.
like I've looked for people when my dad was living with me when he was recovering from a stroke and I didn't have 2 free minutes to rub together. And people were like, oh, I wanted someone to clean my house because I didn't have any time. And they were like, how often are you looking for? And I'm like, once. But if you blow me away, you're my girl. You're my guy. Like, so I am okay with that. All right. So what do you want us to do? You want us to give feedback on this idea?
So my feedback would be for I want you to help any PT or OT watching or listening right now that is like Christy looking to grow a mobile concierge practice. These professionals also, by the way, it'll typically say, I don't see it here, but okay, there is let me type in the physical therapy. So there's been physical therapy, but it's less common. Physical therapy for bark.com. Let me move my camera. Physical therapy.
So real
Okay,
quick,
so here,
while Dave is doing that, I think an important aspect to this is understanding the platform, understanding the community that that platform is built. So I have digital courses. I can put my digital course on my Thinkific account, which there's no community there. It's just anybody who follows me on social will see the link to that. I can put a course on Udemy. Udemy has, I think last time I checked, like 44 million or 200 million users. It's a huge community, but that community is more for tech learning, coding and graphic design and things like that. It's not, that community is not there with a mindset of I'm looking for physical therapy information. So for something like this, the odds are it's going to be a huge community looking for massage therapists, very, very tiny, slim community looking for physical therapy. But if you have the time and the eagerness to build it, I think it's a great platform to leverage. You're just kind of at the frontier and you have to put the work in to do it. Go ahead, Dave.
all right, so next email, this person is actually looking for a physical therapist, New York, 10014. It takes 6 credits to respond, redacted phone number, redacted email address. I'm going to zoom in here. And here is what I think will fascinate or interest Tony. All right, so here, what type of physical therapy would you consider? Again, these are probably just drop downs that the prospective customer is clicking on. So orthopedic, how often do you require physical therapy? Weekly? Which parts of your body require physical therapy? Legs, feet, patient's age 60 and over. Please describe your physical therapy needs. Posiatry, which I'm assuming meant to be podiatry, but
I got fat fingers too. S is really close to D.
Yes. And here I want to get Tony's feedback on what type of health plan are you or your family covered by? State health coverage. Is this a covered service? I don't know. Isn't this interesting, Tony?
Yeah.
This is zero. This should shock nobody. Nobody has any idea what their coverage is.
But and then how would you like to receive the service, remotely or in person? During COVID, there was some remote, but for the most part, people are choosing in person. And most of the emails and leads look like this.
Tony, what were we going to say?
One of the most valuable aspects of what Dave is sharing here, even if you're outside the New York City area, is this is information coming from consumers. If you create consumer facing content, these are the things you should be doing. Yeah. We just had a conversation on Facebook with a therapist who said, I'm in a rural community. Nobody's going to pay $200 a session. Well, that's if you're thinking of 10 and 12 and 15 sessions. But if you come out and you say, hey, I'm going to do one session, it's $500. Then you have people that will consider a one-time fee, because just like Dave showed us, most of the people are saying, I want to do one. And to Jimmy's credit, it's true. They want to test you out. They want to figure out if they like you, what you know, all of those things. So I would be marketing one-time sessions at a premium rate. I would be marketing, like in this case, in person over virtual. I would be marketing, you know, whatever it is that we can glean from those patient feedbacks or consumer feedbacks. That is the stuff we should be using verbatim in our marketing materials.
They will tell you. People will tell you. They will use their words.
Right.
This is like the hill I hope I don't have to die on by the time I die in our profession. Is we keep, I'm not knocking you, Dave, but we keep like, we can't wait to correct people when she's like mid-back, L4, L5. I get it too. But like, they don't know. We focus.
No, I know the consumer does not know.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is like, we're like, oh, I can't wait to come in and show you how smart I am. I go back to that quote. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. They don't care how much you know. They also don't care how much you care. They care, can you help me get to the desired end result, which is my back hurts. I don't really understand physical therapy. If that's true, great. I'm looking for a solution. Again, I got to get her on the show. I swear I'll text her at the end of this. My friend Megan Brown is the biggest liar in physical therapy, because in one of the most expensive real estate areas in the country, she runs a Pilates studio. She built a community. She provides a lot of the things that a lot of people walk into her door for: community, fun, accountability, pain relief, strength, flexibility. And she's a physical therapist. She understood the assignment. She went and got her DPT degree. She's a brilliant physical therapist. She's over delivering without ever having to use those words. I almost think we should do exercises where you have to market what you actually do, communicate what you do. You can't use the word physical therapy.
Sure.
Plumbers don't talk about the plumbing university they went to. They talk about the end result. They talk before and after. Got a leaky sink? Could lead to water damage. Call Steve, right? I do want to bring one thing up. Christy would be a great use case. I looked her up on LinkedIn. She is in Raleigh, Durham. Like that's like the research triangle, right? Isn't it the research triangle? Like she's poised for this. In my opinion of what I know about that market, that is not an easy market to live in terms of cost and what people do there. So I think she's poised.
And I don't know the cost of living in Raleigh, but like you said, it's somewhere between like a major city and like very rural, right? So it's like a small.
Yeah. But who lives there and who can live there? I looked living there for a little while, and it's not the cheapest place because you got Duke in North Carolina and other big companies and stuff like that. So those people want solutions.
Really quick, Tony was just saying like $500 a visit for different areas. And I agree. Like I think there's some places that would say, you know what,
for a one-time visit.
For a one-time, now, perfect. Thank you for teeing that up. Now, if you're a physical therapist, PT or OT, and I have no horse in this race, but like if you're a PT or OT and you want, to make $250 or $300 or something per visit, but have patients finish plans of care that are spending 10 visits, 20 visits, 30 visits, or multiple years with you, I see it every day in New York City. I'm just assuming it's very similar in other cities. So if you are, let's say, younger, motivated, interested, and some of this is interesting to you, I have no horse in this race either. But like, if you wanted to do that, but on a more frequent basis, I would consider, if I were, a new grad or whatever, I would consider looking into cities as opposed to rural areas, right? So like there's like one of the tweets when I did that, remember the tweet with the showing my bicep, the whole tweet thing, someone tweeted, the only thing you need to charge patients $250 to $400 per visit is a city or area where there's those types of people that live near, like that are willing to pay that out of pocket, right? And where most of those people, most of them are in middle to larger cities. So whether it's Miami, Chicago, New York, San Francisco, Austin, and fill in the gaps anywhere else, Boston, that's something that I would consider, because there's more folks that will pay $250 or $300 per visit, but then spend. I've seen it. I've showed you guys tens of thousands of dollars per year, or tens of thousands of dollars over years. And I'm not saying that's not everything, but if that's of interest, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Agreed. Jimmy, do we have time for your topic?
Yeah, but I just wanted to go back to like what I think Dave started with. Is like, do I think this is a good strategy? Yeah. I mean, what are the subscription prices ballpark on Bark that you that like you paid for? Like, is it like a monthly per credit thing or whatever? Like
it's I can't remember. It's like packages of credits. So you would buy like 20 or 30 or 40 credits.
Like $1,000 that you think?
No, like a couple hundred. No, like 50, 70, $100, like a small dollar amount.
I would automate this. I would run it for 6 months, and then I would do math, and I would say, is the juice worth this? Like, look what you automated in your Gmail inbox. You were like, this thing and these keywords that you wanted to treat or you think people were using, and then just decide, is this, I mean, you probably reviewed that once a day, once every couple of days to decide who you wanted to bid on.
And this is the one thing that I didn't discuss when I was sharing that. So again, you're a PT or OT, and let's say you sign up for Bark, and you tell Bark, hey, I want you to send me these prospective patients when they click on a potential service like physical therapy, obviously. But then also you could click the box and say, also send me these email leads, these anonymous email leads when someone is seeking massage therapy. This is what I wanted to cover. I totally forgot, which is you get that massage therapy lead and you hit them up. You call them, you message them, whatever. You leave a voicemail if they don't answer, you send them a text message, and you say up front, hey, I'm a physical therapist. I do a lot of hands-on manual therapy. I'm not a massage therapist, but do you want to discuss your situation and we could see if it might even be a potential fit? And that's something that like Kat Powell, she's a physical therapist on Long Island. That's a buddy of mine. And she had done this as well. Like she would contact those massage therapy leads. Yes, you have to pay up front. Yes, it's a volume game. Some will convert and some will not. Some want like literally, no, I want to lay down passively for 90 minutes, like oils, lotion, shirt off.
Not your person.
Exactly. But you can convert some of these people that are seeking massage therapy when they're giving you the signals of, I have a disc bulge, I have this, I have a knee that's stiff or whatever, and they're looking for something that you could probably help maybe more efficiently, or you're equipped to help with that. And maybe and like Jimmy said, they might not even know what physical therapy is, or that physical therapy is the best option. You got to speak with them, and some of these will convert, some of these will not. But some of these might end up spending hundreds or thousands of dollars with you.
Yeah. Hey, real quick. Hang on real quick. I'm on the Bark pricing page. Two things that I think are interesting about this. One is they won't give pricing on credits. They won't tell me unless I join as a professional how much the cost is.
It makes you wait, hold on. It makes you put in like your name and email to kind of start an account as a professional.
You have to start your professional account
before
they will tell you how much the credits cost.
Well, I love it.
The other part that I'm thinking about looking at this is, again, this is clearly a little bit of a creative pricing model. Why are we not exploring creative pricing models more? Okay, so these guys buy credits, therapists sell packages. Maybe there's an advantage to doing credits. These credits never expire, but once you buy them, there's probably no refund for them.
Right.
So we can learn so much from the new economy and the way these new economy businesses are operating. But go ahead, guys.
So Tony, real quick, are you irritated that they're not showing the price?
Oh yeah, I will not join because I'm not going to create another account just to get pricing.
Because they're going to send you 10 or 20 marketing emails about, hey, finish your account as a professional.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't like that. Everything else about this idea I like, and I think it's worth it. And I think, I mean, to me, it's brilliant. They're gonna feed you. They're gonna feed you, even if you get one a week, one a month. There's no downside.
And guess what? With massage therapy leads in the New York City area, it's multiple per day. Multiple, 3 to 5 a day.
Oh yeah, because I mean, you have to, because here's why. I've done this before. If you search massage therapist in a large city, you get professional massage therapists, and you get people who are not professional massage therapists. So you're trying to sort
they're other professionals.
Read between those lines.
It's the back of those free newspapers that I remember seeing as a kid. All right, we don't have time for Jimmy's topic, so we're going to save that for Thursday.
All right.
Let's just hammer out a couple of details from the things that we talked about today. I think one of the things here, and this is where it's like, look, clinicians, PTs, OTs, SLPs, you're geniuses. You're creative. You come up with creative solutions. You figure out solutions to these problems. And it's not just about how to get a patient to locomote, how to get a patient to feel better. It's any problem we put in front of you. So when I look at something like this, obviously my first thought is, why don't we have a PT dedicated, OT dedicated service like this? Why does it not exist? I created Choose PT First, trying to build a directory like this, but it still never gained the traction that I was hoping. I would allow therapists to register for free, and I still couldn't get over 1,000 registered people on the platform. Now it's a marketplace. So do I not have enough traffic to make it appealing for people to take the 2 minutes it takes to create a profile? Maybe. But I think there is still a solution out there to connecting the right therapist with the right patient, the manual therapist with the patient who wants manual therapy, the exercise-based therapist with the patient who doesn't want to be touched. We just need to solve that problem. And I think we look at these Thumbtack and Angie's List and all of these it can be done. We just haven't done it yet. What are some of your thoughts about the other stuff going on today?
I think this is proof of concept. Healthy SBC. I don't know your name, but you drop it in there.
Jeremy. That's Jeremy
Sutton, baby.
Oh, I know Jeremy Sutton. Okay, I couldn't. Yeah. My glasses are not. He's thinking about taking the words physical therapy completely out of his marketing. That's crazy, Jeremy. Why would you do that? because I think using physical therapy puts it in a box.
Right.
And you don't want to be in the box. And he continues to say he's just talking about outcomes. Oh my God. Need a new roof? I don't care if you're a roofer or some random, like, can you get me a new roof? In the last 2 weeks, he's been getting more 65 and older individuals who want to get stronger. Can physical health therapists help with that? Yeah, they could. Can other people? Sure. But Jeremy can, not PT. Strength, one of the things you can provide, and you are keenly educated to do so. I agree.
Parting shot is, first of all, it's okay to get pricing, wrong or have some mistakes. Pricing, I think, at the end of the day, is kind of like, and Jimmy's going to like this because of ice hockey. Pricing is getting a hockey puck and throwing it out on the ice.
Okay.
And it's going to slide. It's going to slide one way or the other. And you're probably going to, you're going to find out like, oh, I'm either way too low or maybe I'm hot. I'm too high and I'm not getting the volume I need to make a living or hire a therapist or whatever. So the pricing, pick a number, start with the number, and then change it from there. So for me, it was like, obviously I told you 2016, we started $100 a visit, or I started $100 a visit, and we've only increased since then. It never decreased. But, you might start at, I don't know, $175 a visit. And if you're like in, I don't know, northern Florida, maybe there's no demand for that. And maybe you need to be at 100, or you do packages only, or whatever. Like, you got to figure it out. But anyway, pricing, it's going to slide up and down a scale, start somewhere and then go up or down from there. If
you honestly believe you're bringing value and you're not charging for it, it's on you. I'm very sorry. This is a problem that you have to own. I would say understand the assignment. Your assignment's to find people you can help make feel better, right? Just putting physical therapy on a sign and then waiting for people to show up and understand it, that doesn't work, right? That doesn't always work. And if you're only waiting on referrals, I would be very nervous. That's not a business model I only want to be in, is just waiting around for other people to tell you about you. And I heard someone eloquently explain it. What happens when that referring provider gets his son-in-law, daughter marries a guy who's a physical therapist in the same town? All that relationship is now gone. So I'm not saying don't have relationships with people. I'm telling you to have more relationships with people. And the way you do that is by listening and then communicating. That's my parting shot. Listen more than communicate, right? Grandma says you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them proportionately. We're back on Thursday. I will bring up this question. I'll keep it sort of anonymized, this business question. What would you do? We'll do a segment called What Would You Do? I'll tell a little story, give you the situation, then go, hey, what would you do in this situation to sort of overserve, or surprise and delight is the phrase that we use in marketing. Gentlemen, have a good week. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Subscribe, like, follow, the whole nine.